Good morning. I'm Bogdan Oldakowski. I'm the Secretary General of the Baltic Ports Organization, and I would like to welcome you all at our webinar dedicated to comprehensive ports. As you know, the comprehensive ports are the ports who are not the biggest one, but if you look at the map of the Baltic Sea, there are so many smaller ports, comprehensive ports, and they are playing very important role in a port market, and also when it comes to serving shipping lines in the Baltic. That's why we have decided to organize this webinar. There are also another reason behind that. We just finished the preparation of the reports. I'm not sure if you can see it. This is just the first page. And the report is exactly the same as the title of this webinar. So, comprehensive ports in the Baltic Sea, an important role for the short sea shipping, people mobility, industries, and blue economy. And we have tried to assess the role of those ports in the Baltic, giving some statistics, but also giving some recommendations at the end how we should strengthen the role of the comprehensive ports in TEN-T policy. Today's webinar is divided in two parts. In first part, we will presenting the results of the report, and we do have two speakers, Ewelina Synak and Monika Rozmarynowska-Mrozek, who would simply present different parts of the report. And then we will follow with Villu Vastfeld from Estonia. Villu is also a chairman of the Comprehensive Ports Working Group within Baltic Ports Organization. And this is also highlighting the role of those ports in the Baltic. So we have established the group to discuss between them how they should work together in order to raise the voice of those ports at the European level. Well, the time is quite short, so without further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker of today, who is Ewelina Synak, who would present the first part of the report. Ewelina is still a student. She joined the consulting team of Actia Forum a few months ago, and in fact, one of the first her task was to make some research on those ports, on comprehensive ports. Ewelina, how do you feel today?
Hi, thank you very much.
Okay, good. Ewelina, so please take your time, and I hope you would do it within 10-15 minutes max, please.
Yes, so I am Ewelina Synak, and I am a part of the consulting team in Actia Forum. And together with my colleagues, we prepared a report for BPO about comprehensive ports. Together with Monika, we will be pleased to show you the main findings of our analysis. So I will share my screen. Okay. Okay, so I will show you some information about statistics and the role of the comprehensive seaports in Baltic Sea region. And Monika will give you a short outlook of the financial issues when it comes to the budget, revision of TEN policy, and recommendation. So going straight to the topic, what I wanted to present to you first are the yearly turnovers in the BSR. As you can clearly see, the graph visualizes the growth in cargo turnover of the last decade. And you can see that the only last 5 years gave already a 9% increase, reaching the record level of almost 950 million tons in 2019. So we all know what the beginning of the third decade looks like. The second graph is all about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on total turnovers of top 10 Baltic seaports in the first 3 quarters. So we can see that in the period January-September, in 2020, the seaports noticed together an almost 7.5 decrease in total cargo throughput, comparing to the same period in 2019. So the Russian ports were the least affected by the pandemic. Their turnover dropped by only 1% on average, while some ports like Riga, Szczecin, or Primorsk have two-digit drops. Some ports managed to recover cargo losses in the last quarter. For example, Port of Gdynia noticed another record. But to know what the entire Baltic region looks like, we still have to wait for such calculations. And that was a short introduction, which I would like to be a base for presenting the comprehensive ports from the Baltic region and also their share in cargo handling. But firstly, we need to present what comprehensive ports are. And we have the Trans-European Transport Network Policy, which is currently based on the regulation from 2030. And according to that regulation, the network comprises two layers, the core and the comprehensive network. And according to this document, the seaport will be a part of the comprehensive network if seaport met at least one of the criteria, and the criteria are total annual passenger traffic or cargo volume, which exceeds 0.1% of the total annual passenger traffic or cargo volume of maritime ports of the EU. Or the maritime port is located on an island and provide access to a not-free region. And all the maritime port is located in peripheral area in about 200 kilometers from the other port in the comprehensive network. So then we have a maps which present the core and the comprehensive seaport in Baltic Sea region. The largest concentration of ports can be seen in the central parts of the Baltic Sea and in its western part by the Danish Straits. And on these graphs, we can see exact numbers of the comprehensive and core seaports located in BSR. From the total of 335 European seaports intent, in the Baltic, we have 87 seaports intent, 22 of which are part of core network and 65 are part of comprehensive network. On the right side of the chart, we showed how many of these 10 ports have each of the Baltic Sea country. Clearly, the biggest numbers have those countries with longest coastlines and a big number of islands, so Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. So it was not without reason that at the beginning I presented the total turnover in the region. There are over 200 of cargo ports in the Baltic Sea. And as I said, in 2019, it was almost 950 million tons of cargo. And on this chart, you can see the share of individual groups of countries in this turnover. I have divided the chart into several parts. So the largest three Russian ports accounts for a quarter of the total turnover. And this is a result comparable for cargo turnover in all 65 comprehensive ports. So there we have charts which present volumes of cargo in millions of tons, which are unloaded in Baltic ports belonging to the comprehensive network. And this is the color light green. And those which belongs to the core network, this is dark green. If we take a look on these types of cargo, we can see that comprehensive ports primarily handle general cargo, secondly, dry bulk, and then liquid bulks. And in terms, both in terms of the volume and in terms of the share in the total cargo in all 10 ports. And looking more closely at general cargo, we can highlight the transport in containers and RoRo units. So in the two graphs on the left, we can see the share and the volume of the cargo. Containers are calculated in TU and RoRo are in tons. The Baltic Sea area is well known for its ferry and RoRo shipping intensity. And this broad expansion of the RoRo ferry networks not only generates a flow of goods, but also passengers. So the chart on the right shows the passenger traffic in the core and comprehensive ports. And this is the only chart where the comprehensive ports dominate the core ports. So based on the statistical analysis, but also on the analysis of the cases, which means that we made a general outlook of the activities profiles of the comprehensive ports in Baltic Sea region, we concluded about what are important functions which these ports have in the maritime sector. So basically we highlighted 4 functions and they have a role in short sea shipping network, in which we focused more on RoRo traffic than container, and the role of connecting islands in the Baltic Sea, which also goes straightly from one of the criteria of being a part of a comprehensive network. And the role of serving local industries, which means that they are the main port for serving a factory, mill, or a plant or group of such enterprises. And the seaport was often created by the fact of the existence of these enterprises. And last but not least, they are places for innovation and blue economy, which is often the result of their diversified activities, not only in the area of cargo handling, but also other activities in the maritime sector. So we have zero emission energy, especially offshore wind farms, fishing, or tourism. So shortly, we have first role of short sea shipping, then can be easily shown by a number of operators which run regular services to comprehensive ports in the Baltic. So in container services, from the total amount of the 18 operators, 13 of them provide regular service to of 31 operators. 22 of them provide services to 38 comprehensive ports in the Baltic. And we make some free case studies in every category of function to visualize the function better. And in this function, we presented Port of Hanko with one of the most expanded RoRo network, and the part of Helsingborg with the most expanded container network. We presented also the case of Port of Ystad. Despite the fact that they have on connection with only 3 Baltic ports, their total turnover is around 95% made of unitized cargo. And the volume of 3.5 million tons have positioned this port on 8th place of the top 10 wheeled cargo seaports in Baltic Sea region. So the second function, connecting islands in the Baltic Sea, as I said, it comes directly from the comprehensive port criteria. It is relevant for many ports, and we have indicated satellite ports here, and there are 4 ports providing regular connection between 2 biggest islands and the mainland. And we have also indicated the Mariehamn port, which have a regular ferry connection with Finland, Estonia, and Sweden. And also they serve as destination for cruisers. And we present the case of Visby, located on the Gotland Island, and the regular ferry services to the other Swedish seaports on the East Coast line. So the third function, serving local industries, it comes from the most common functions provided by ports, which not only have transportation and commercial functions, but also an industrial function. So we present 3 cases. One is case of Port of Skulvik and or Kilpilahti, the perfect example of a port that provides mainly services for the needs of the local refinery. We present also Port of Rahe and Oxelösund, which serves for local steel mills. And the fourth function, innovations in blue economy, is due to the fact that ports which do not have such high shares in cargo handling, they additionally can also deal with other activities in maritime sector. And here we present the case of Sassnitz Mukran and Port of Röne, which specialize in the operation of turbines for offshore wind farms, and Port of Kiel, which can be one of the leaders in digital transformation and providing the new facilities for reducing port emissions, perhaps by OPS solution. So that was the part I prepared for this presentation, and I hope you find it interesting. And now I am giving Monica the opportunity to present next part of the presentation. So thank you very much.
Yes, Monica would give the second part, and just to introduce Monica shortly, Monica is the leader of the consulting team in Actia Forum, and well, we are looking forward to hear Monica part. Monica, please.
Okay. Yes. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Okay, I will try to share my screen to proceed with the presentation. Okay, I hope you all can see it. Okay, so now I will present the second part of the presentation, and the second part of the outcomes from our report that we prepared. And the second part, as Evelina said, will be more about possibilities of financing the investments in comprehensive ports under the Connecting Europe facility in the previous perspective of financing, and in the upcoming perspective. And I will celebrate a little bit more about also about motorways of the seas status in the TNT policy. Okay, so let's start with the Connected Europe facility. And firstly, the financing period 2014-2020, which is actually behind us already. So I prepared some summary. And during that past financial period 2014-2020, 36 different Baltic ports, both core and comprehensive, were involved in 52 CEF transport actions, and they received 93% of the total 147 million allocated funding to maritime actions within Baltic Sea region. 17 out of 22 Baltic core ports took part in 38 CEF actions. They were financed under 5 CEF priorities. It was motorways of the seas, identified projects on core network corridors, nodes of core network, multimodal logistics platforms, as well as new technologies and innovations. Coming to comprehensive ports, 19 out of 65 Baltic comprehensive ports got financing from CEF, and they participated in 20 CEF actions. Out of 52 actions taking place on the Baltic Sea, 21 were funded through Motorways of the Sea program. And here we have some summary about the budget, CEF budget allocation. Sorry, I'm sorry. CEF budget allocation. I'm sorry. Okay, let's proceed. And as we can see here, the great amount was allocated to Baltic core ports. It was over 700 million euros, and only slightly more than 1/10 of that was allocated to projects where comprehensive ports took part. So we can see here a big disproportion in the allocation of funds among core and comprehensive ports. In the second table, we can see the allocation of funds under priorities. Generally, comprehensive ports could be financed under only two CEF priorities. It was projects on the core and comprehensive networks and motorways of the seas. And most of that funds were under motorways of the seas. For 58.3 million euros. So, so what's next? The previous financing period, 2014-2020, is over, and now the next one, 2021 to 2027, is ahead of us. And the amount of budget allocated to CEF II has been fluctuated over the negotiation time, and the final amounts to be allocated in the program are presented here. The general envelope for transport is 11.4 billion euros. For energy, it is 5.2 billion euros. For digital, 1.8. And for cohesion funds, the 10 billion euros is allocated. Here we can see the allocation, the budget allocation for core and comprehensive network. And as we can see, the budget will be allocated to a development of TNT network and modernization of existing TNT network. And 60% from general envelope and 85% from cohesion envelope will be allocated to a development of TNT network. And 85% of that will be for core network, and only 15% will be for comprehensive network. Looking closer in the modernization of existing TNT network, the 40% from general envelope and 15% from cohesion envelope will be dedicated to the modernization, and it all will cover both core and comprehensive network, the investment on both core and comprehensive network. On the next slide, we can see the maximum co-financing rates proposed, and generally they are more or less the same as it was in the previous financial period. So in the general envelope, it will be 30% for works, and maximum 50% for studies. In cohesion and envelope, it will be maximum as 70% or 85% if the projects will concern cross-border links or missing links. Okay, so now let's go to a few sentence about revision of TNT policy. Generally, this upcoming revision of TNT regulation is a great opportunity for better define and integrate the Motorways of the Sea program. And there is a strong need for the reflection and debate on how the maritime dimension should look like, should be reshaped in the next TNT guidelines. As European coordinator for Motorways of the Seas knows this, Mr. Kurt Bodevic, he noted that there is a that the Motorways of the Sea program needs significant changes, and existing weaknesses and limitations need to be adequately addressed. Here are some key ideas of European coordinator for Motorways of the Seas for better future of MOS. Generally, his key idea is to introduce a new notion of sustainable, seamless, and smart European maritime space, which is encompassing all maritime infrastructure elements. The further ideas are to better integrate the entire transport flows, including seabound and hinterland connections to ports. Introduction of a sea basin approach, which can help identify concrete objectives and qualitative targets to be reached based on the MOS adequacy concept. Then better integration and interconnection of the comprehensive ports network with the entire TNT network, and via this concept of new concept of European maritime space. More stability of TNT network, both core and comprehensive. And the European coordinator also noticed the needs of updating this concept, Motorways of the Sea, in the relation of the new market realities, societal challenges, or general new needs such as the digitalization, automatization, and e-commerce. And going further, also I present here some ideas of European coordinator of MOS. Concerning MOS status within the CEF regulation. He recommends the removal of eligibility criteria from Article 21 of TNT regulation. In view of incorporating them in a CEF II work program, it will allow for more flexibility. The next recommendation is to simplify the rules and the whole MOS concept. And the next one, the reflection of opening up the eligibility criteria for MOS links. Generally, it will be good to have some possibilities for cooperation between two core comprehensive ports or with third countries and outermost regions. And the last one, greater articulation with other funding instruments as well as innovative financing solutions. And here's some actually summary of the role of comprehensive ports and the future need and the role of comprehensive ports. As my colleague Evelina in the first part of the presentation present the basic roles of comprehensive ports, and I will only give some summary. Generally, comprehensive ports serve a great share of cargo that goes through the Baltic ports. It is almost 40% of total cargo. So comprehensive ports serve almost 40% of cargo that goes through all ports, all Baltic ports that are included in TNT network. Comprehensive ports also serve their local communities by providing mobility possibilities, and they have an input in the business development and support the local economy. In many cases, comprehensive and small ports are nodes for local development and play a significant role for citizens. And they also have a role in decarbonization, green technology, and intermodality. And that is why there is a strong need to keep and reinforce all functions that comprehensive ports serve. And to achieve that, there's a need, the development, the investments in the comprehensive ports are essential. Generally, to make the TNT network efficient and integrated both of its levels, it is comprehensive and core, must be developed, and none should be neglected. So it is my part of presentation. Actually, yes, it is the end. So next one, I think it will be a recommendation which will be presented by Vilus. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Monica, and I'm very impressed by the work you have done together with Evelina, and the findings are really very interesting. Maybe sometimes it's a bit difficult, to be honest, by port managers to understand all the relations and all the policies and the availability of funds and grants from the Commission. But it is also quite an important part of our report. Before I give the voice to Vilo, I would like to tell you, those who are following us, watching us on YouTube, that there is a chance to ask the question. So you could just ask the question on chat on YouTube, and then the questions will be transferred to us. So please use this option. Villu, please present the recommendations that are the main outcomes of this report. And I think, Monica, we can even present them on slide. Villu, would you like to present them, or you would just tell from your mind?
Thank you for giving the floor to me and just answering to your questions. I would like to say hello to everybody. I just checked up. There is almost 40 participants right now on this webinar, and girls and guys, thank you for your interest in the topic. And of course, the report itself is so extensive and well thought through. So I know there is one Evelina with us today, but there was two Evelinas who were dealing with the report, and Monica. So girls, thank you for your work. It's excellent material, excellent basis for future development. So what I can do right now, I can bow to you and bow to Bogdan that you took such a challenge. But talking about the outcome of report and what it means to comprehensive boards, the recommendations, I have to say, are rather well formulated. So I won't speak only based on my mind. I would read them. So if you have a chance to put the presentation and those recommendations up on the screen, I'm pretty sure that all our viewers will prefer them to my face. So, so if there is a chance, you can share a screen, and we can go through them. In general, what I would like to say to all the listeners and to our groups, and as I mentioned also in one interview when I got the honor to be leader of this comprehensive boards work group in BPO. There are different views on the world, and I am among those who believe that the never-ending growth is not sustainable, and the future of the world, including transportation and logistics, relies in flexibility, in opening up different options, because what we have to do, we have to trust people, we have to trust ourselves. And we have to promote our creativity, and pushing the logistics and transportation into the foreseen channels only. It's not sustainable. It's not even secure. And we all have seen accidents and events in the world when single-purpose transportation channels are collapsing and causing much more damage to the economies if it would be with completely different and efficient and more diversified logistics systems. So this is why probably we are here. This is why there is a different work group also in BPO, and this is why this report was made, just to put up the question. So best picture for this question is what Monica showed. If the cargo flow and passengers flows are divided 40% to 60% between core network and comprehensive network, why financing is divided to 85% to 15%. So do we need this kind of dividing at all, and maybe a little bit more trust will be put in port organizations, and we will look at the port community as whole without differing who is comprehensive and who is core. So this is something, the topic is really interesting. I'm pretty sure that it will continue, and not only among us, but as you listeners understood, this topic has been taken to level of European Commission already. And I strongly suggest and advise to other colleagues in other countries, it has to be brought also to our national governments level, because as many discussions as we had, this is no different in any country, that it's also really cozy for national government to deal only with agreed core network. But again, this is not sustainable in regional economies. This is not sustainable in longer view, and we have to be diversified and more on much more wider basis. So once more, thank you for hard work, girls and boys, thank you for giving the platform for the BPO. And now to the recommendations. What came out of this beautiful, you can't tell beautiful report about this professional from this professional report. And as you may understand and refer to, one of the first recommendations, if you look at the results of report, is that the ports have to be treated in more equal way, and there have to be way and opportunity not to have those straight limits or numbers or percentages which are dividing the port community into core and comprehensive network. So if our voice is heard, so this is a first, and for me at least, the most important recommendation. We can't divide ourselves. It's the same with the humanity. It doesn't depend on your gender, on your height or weight or skin color. So everybody has opportunities. Everybody has to have opportunities to develop and give its own share to the general development and well-being. The second is about a topic which we've not covered maybe in these presentations, but as I said, we are talking about core and comprehensive network because it's those terms are coming from the European Community, from the European Commission. And besides having core network and comprehensive network, we also have time targets to develop or finish, not even if you can't finish a network, but to develop those networks. And European Commission right now has 2 targets to complete or to have the development stage for a core network to be ready in year 2030. At the same time, comprehensive network has to be ready for 2050. So, dear guys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, how can it be possible? Because the 20-year span is so wide, and the suggestion is, again, as a previous recommendation, the date of completion of the 2 levels of a network shouldn't be diversified. It should be a common understanding that there is a constant need for big ones, large ones, and the smaller ones, and even maybe tiny ones. So the second recommendation would be that completion dates of the 2 networks in European understanding or community understanding would be same, or at least they should be pushed closer together. Then, as I already mentioned in my short introduction, the recommendation is for everybody and for member states of European Union. It has to be treated the same way on national governments level. So we have to push our governments out from comfort zone. So the nice big project to wave flags and put up the banners are really maybe outstanding, but it's not all development governments have to do. So please push your national governments, introduce the ideas and seek for support. And I'm pretty sure that I know that we had our representatives in European Parliament last seasons, and for sure we have our front runners in a parliament, European parliaments in the future. But those front runners have to have the background and voices from the member states and from local governments, national governments. So Monica already gave overview about the financing issues comprehensive ports have. So the recommendation is that the position of the comprehensive ports have to be strengthened among basically not only in Connecting Europe facility, but among all the financing tools which are available. And it is also issue of the equal treatment, equal market, and you can't allow financing tools to those who are maybe strong already, and core network ports are bigger, they have more means for development, and their business interests are much more well defended already now by the market position. So not against them, but if there is a money given, it has to be given on the principles which treats us all equally. And of course, everywhere, elsewhere, everywhere, every time, there has to be less bureaucracy. The rules have to be more simple. All the procedures and conditions have to be understandable for people like us. We are not politicians. We are not officials. We are usually CEOs of the port managing companies. And if you want to talk about development and financing development, then you have to understand what we are writing and reading about. So this is always a problem and issue everywhere. So bureaucracy has to be limited, and conditions and rules have to be understandable simply and easily. And what else, and which is probably much harder, is about the financing sources again. But usually, what happens, the financing sources happen to be available in the periodically. So there is a huge demand on the financing if whatever grants are opening. And then when the period goes on, then suddenly the funds are ending. So it might be sensible to split up the funding and to spread the flow of the support money more evenly to European budget period. And I'm among those who say that those support rates or co-financing rate don't have to be high. So it's enough, maybe a 50% or 30%, but it has to be constant, because the business ideas don't happen on a certain date. They come along to people and communities during the time. Every day, some new business ideas appear, and to treat those ideas equally is also why the financing should be sustainable and more even during the lifespan of our projects or economy. And at the end, there are a couple of more suggestions or recommendations. So all the evaluation process should be more maybe more transparent and accessible, and then the new ideas will know how to present themselves, on what basis all the investment projects and also logistics schemes are evaluated. And sometimes, of course, it's covered with national interest or cooperation projects, but this assessing and evaluation process has to be also clear as whatever other bureaucracy we have, because as sportsmen, no, that's why there is a finish line, and that's why the stadium is 400 meters and no more, but because only then we can evaluate who is better and who is maybe not so good among competitors. So, and last and not least, so it's easy to say, but that's from where we started. So if we are treated equally, if we are seen as equal members of the logistics community and port community, then the funding questions should be shared more equally too. And this is basically one of the hardest issues all the time. So where to get the money for investments, who will be interested investors in our ideas, and our suggestion is from smaller ports and comprehensive port sites that it should be, we should be looked at in equal manner, because if you serve 1 million tons today and your competitor serves 5 million tons today, and he gets some money and you don't get some money, how you will reach to the 5 million tons. It's really bluntly said, but sorry, maybe no time for fancy words. And I'm pretty sure I've covered most recommendations, but Bogdan and Monica and Evelina, you assure me those recommendations are included in the report document. So if the document comes available, you can go through them. And of course, any feedback, any comments, you are very welcome to send them to BPO, to BPO Comprehensive Ports Workgroup, and then we can include them in our voice, in our speeches, in our comments in the future. So thank you for your time right now, and I will shut up for a moment. Isn't so?
Thank you, Villu, for presenting the recommendations. Yes, quite many of them are addressed to EU institutions, but you also mentioned that national governments have to take into account the importance, the role of comprehensive ports also on the national level. Yes. Quite often the governments are focused only on big ports, not on smaller ports. Yes, of course, the recommendations are part of the report, and they are at the end, at the final part of the report. So they are there, and everybody can look at them and comment. Maybe at the end of this part, again, I would like to thank all the authors. So we have already seen today Ewelina Synak and Monika Rozmarynowska, but also there was Ewelina Żajka and Villu. You said that the report is beautiful. Yes, it is beautiful. It's very nice designs with nice colors. Probably you can't see it here, but if you download it, you will see it. And the design is made by Nora Dybowska. So thank you all the authors for contribution to this report. And maybe it's also wise to say that the report will be available, of course, to all members of the Baltic Ports organizations, and for the others, please write the request to BPO Secretariat, and then we will come back to you with the answer. Okay, I think we have to go now to our panel discussion. So, there are 4 persons among the panelists today, and Villu would I hope stay with us for the panel as well. But there is Patrick Hellman, who is the CEO of the port of Kaskinen from Finland. Patrick, are you there? Yes, you're there.
Yes, here I am. Thank you.
Good morning. We have Jesper Jurgensen, Head of Public Affairs and Communications, Port of Rønne, Bornholm.
I'm here, yeah.
Good to see you. We have Christopher Meyer, Project Manager of the port of the project called Connect to Small Ports from Wismar.
Yeah, good morning. Hello.
Morning. So maybe I could ask you at the beginning if you have any comments to the report, to the presented results, any comments, any findings. How do you find the finding of the reports? So Patrick, do you have anything to say?
Yes, thank you, Bogdan, and thank you, Evelina, Monica, and Villu, especially Villu. I have actually many things to say, but very interesting report. Many things are, of course, already out there, but good to have them in one piece of work. And I especially find the recommendations very interesting, but let's get back to them later on the discussion. Very, very nice report. Thank you.
Okay. Jesper, any comments?
I will not go into detail commenting, but I think overall, I think it was good, interesting report, and I also find many of the suggestions from our point of view to be right. To see the comprehensive ports getting a bigger share of the funding, and to see them as taking a bigger part of the future as well. So I will not comment any more further, so we can take that later on. Yeah.
Okay. Christopher, anything from your side?
Yeah, from my side as well. Very nice overview. For me, as well as Vilo said, especially this financing part, I think it really shows the topicality of comprehensive ports, and this should be really in the focus, showing people, well, we have here some disadvantages, some paradox. Why is the financing so low while cargo and passenger throughput is completely higher? But yeah, we can put this on discussion more in detail.
Thank you. And Villu, do you have any comments to other part? I mean, statistics, and because I know you are very aware of the all financing, but did you find the statistic interesting?
Yes, the statistics is really how is it talkative. It gives such a good overview, and the numbers usually, if they on paper, they make people think about something. So it's and this report is really presentable on national level. So this is why I'm really, how to put it, proud of you guys, because earlier on, if I went here in Estonia to governmental level and was talking about development of the smaller ports, then the general knowledge, as sad as it is about the core ports. Everybody knows those big names. And then suddenly, if you talk about Ystad, then where is Ystad? You say it's in Sweden. And now you know what Ystad is. And it's usually we are like those Russian souvenirs called matryoshkas. If you open us up, there is much more inside than you look at the outside, and there are many more, much more diversified as it is. But one thing what I want to add, and what came out of this report, and what is probably the future topic is those cases which were presented as time goes on, and as some time passed already when we established a work group for comprehensive ports, and many times it is asked that what do we do? Of course, we are ferry ports and we serve local factories and local industries, but at least here on this side of Baltic Sea, more and more faces are turning into the fact that local ports are places for innovation and blue or green economy in the future. So this is completely, so we are not running for bigger cargo volumes and running for bigger number of the ferry passengers, but more and more people and local businesses are looking into the ports like places to do business, and to do business not in an old way, but to do business in a new way. So blue economy or green economy, whatever, however you call it. So this is at least Sartelini, the company I work for, is looking in the future that our larger ports and even smaller ports will be places of the business, but not the volume business, but new business, environmental business. And this is what I took with me from this presentation right now.
Thank you, Viru. Thank you. You will have a chance to talk about your company a bit later, but I'd like to turn now to Patrick again. And Patrick, you're running one of the ports in Finland. There are so many ports in Finland. And if you can present shortly the business profile of your port, and how do you position your port in the whole Finnish port industry? So please.
Yes, thank you, Bogdan. Port of Kaskinen is a fairly small port. in any respect. Actually, we have 1.2 million tons annually for now, throughput of goods, but we have been growing 25% in 3 years, and last year we had a growth of 11%, and the turnover grew by 14%. So we are quite on a roll for the moment, and we have investments coming up for around between 20 or 40 million euros. Actually, we are going to be double in size concerning the infrastructure, and even if maybe the volume growth is not the issue, but it will be growing by 5 times at least when we are ready in 10 years time. And we are emphasizing on digitalization and automation, and through that we will be green and safe and flexible, more efficient. We are actually, if I position myself or this port in Finland, yes, we have many ports. Seaports are over 30, but we are also, as a cliche, an island, so that comes very natural. But if I position this port, we are specialized for the forest industry. We have a pulp mill just in the proximity of the port, and we handle a lot of sawn wood and other refined wood products here. And we are considered among other Finnish ports to be one of the most efficient when it comes to handling these forest products. And we are geographically just in the middle of Finland on the west coast, so actually as close to the Baltic Sea as Helsinki and Kotka, if you look at the chart. So logistically very, very well situated. That's as a short. You can always ask more questions, of course.
Yes, Patrick, I've made a note. You said that you will be handling 5 times more cargo in 10 years. Am I right?
Yes, that's the strategy. That's the goal. Yes, and we are now a break bulk and a bulk port. Basically, we handle some general cargo as well, but this is that will be announced in a few weeks, I guess, what we are going to do. So we also are striving to be a container port and a general cargo, unitized cargo port, and in this area there's going to be built around 200 windmills in starting in next year, and probably we will be handling all the components from this port because it's very well located and we have the very good infrastructure. We are not behind a city or something. We are directly connected through roads and rails. So,
okay, and I understand that this planned growth of cargo is due to some investments you are making.
Yes,
Okay.
And also with new cooperation, new companies that will be established in the port.
Okay, Patrick, thank you very much. And you mentioned a very important fact that you are preparing for the future to handle wind turbines, and it is connected with the wind farm, wind energy development. And I'd like now turn my questions to Jesper Jurgensen from Port of Ronna. Jesper, first of all, you are very new in the industry, so congratulations and very welcome in our network. But at the same time, if you could present yourself shortly, but at the same time, if you could say how Port of Ronna position yourself towards Baltic port market, and what's the role of your offshore terminal when it comes to offshore wind farm development in the Baltic. So please.
Yeah. Just to make you're right. I've only been in the job two months, so I'm very new, and I practically only met my colleagues over Teams meetings, so it's very strange. But that leaves that behind. I have not been working in shipping or offshore. I've been working with public affairs, and that's my main focus, and also with communication. You ask about what is our situation, what is our point in the Baltic, and I mean that seen from Rønne, and as you know, is the main harbor or port at Bornholm, and Bornholm is located as the most eastern island of Denmark. So we have for that reason, we have a special position. More than that, we have a special position because we are just in the middle of the Baltic Sea when it comes to connecting to Sweden, to Denmark, to Finland, to Poland, when it comes to windmill, and when it comes to projects, when it comes to offshore. And I think that is I mean, we are an island port so we have one of our main revenues comes from ferry, a bulk from also a tiny revenue from cruises, but we are positioning ourselves more and more to be a central port in the offshore industry in the Baltic Sea. And I think we see that the decarbonization of the energy resources we're just seeing the beginning now, and we want to be taking part of that adventure. So we have been rebuilding our port, so we are able to take offshore projects and there will be a lot of offshore projects in the Baltic Sea. So you could say that we try to be using our situation geographically, but also trying to be ahead in rebuilding our port to be able to, because we are an island, we can manage in many ways to have these offshore projects with the logistic from an island, being an island. So that's the short question from you. Yeah, short answer. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think your development plan in Rønne was very much. I mean, it was very clever and very good timing because there are so many offshore wind farms projects now coming, also from Polish side. So, and I know that those who are investing in offshore wind farms in Poland, they are looking for port bases in order to simply to build to erect all of these windmills.
Yeah.
And I know that they are also knocking to your door. So yeah,
that sounds good. Sounds good.
You were very good in timing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. May I now turn my question to Christopher. Christopher, you are the project manager of the project called Connect to Small Ports. And if you could present the project shortly, but I know that you're also doing some auditing of smaller ports in the area of digitalizations. So if you could say a few words, what are the outcomes of this audit procedure? Please, Christopher.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe I will just start briefly with the project. As you said, it is dedicated to the digitalization of small and medium-sized ports in our region. The project started in 2018, actually in 2017 with the seed money. And it is based more or less on four main outputs. The first one you already mentioned, that we are planning, or I should say we already implemented digital auditing in our region. In total, we had 36 ports that answered our questionnaire. So we can say, well, we cover a very good range of ports. So our results can be very useful. The second one is that we are developing a capacity building course portfolio, I would call it, that is already available. So the idea is that, well, when we are talking about digitalization, we have to understand, at least on a basic knowledge, things like blockchain, IoT, DLT, you know, all the frames that are currently popping up in the maritime sector. So this is the second main outcome of our project, which is already available on our website. So this is in development and partly finished. The third one is maybe the most important, that we are developing together with small and medium-sized ports, digital pilots. So we are not only talking about theory, how should it be done? We are really putting this theory to practice together with the ports. We are developing digital pilots in their ports. It was planned to have 5 in the project. Currently, we are talking about 8 up to 9 pilots that are under development. And as long as the project is running and as long as we have resources, we are open to do more pilots, of course. But this is also in the hands of the ports that want to work with us. And last but not least, the last outcome is more or less this transfer knowledge, or let's call it best practices, that we try to learn from the bigger ones and try to adapt their digital solutions, because it's not a secret that I cannot just copy paste solutions from core ports to comprehensive ports. I have to search for tailor-made solutions. So this is the last output that we are aiming to implement in the project. And to come back to your second question, well, the results will be published very soon in more detail. In total, we have around 40 indicators, so there's a lot of space for conclusions and recommendations. Maybe one thing I would take out is that when we are talking about digital transition, digitalization, we have this one indicator area, which is called management. And this is quite interesting that this strategic level yielded the lowest scores in terms of digital transition. That means it has indicators like digital strategy, digital business models. And yeah, we had lowest scores here from the ports, which is quite interesting if we want to conclude, well, if we are talking about digitalization, digital transition, maybe we should not focus on the technologies, because technologies, they're existing. We need to focus more to support the strategic level. So help in terms of, now again, we're talking all the time about financing, but this is really crucial here again, that if no money is available, no investments can be made. This is also one thing that we could take out here. And also, as I said, we need to support this strategic level, and we want to support, we are trying to, but this is also something we might can take on discussion as well when it comes to future development and challenges for ports, or especially comprehensive and smaller ports.
Okay. Christopher, thank you very much. It's worth to mention that Baltic Ports Organization is the associated, the supporting partners for the projects.
Exactly.
And I think at the end you said a very important thing. I'm having relations, and I'm working for the ports for quite many years, and port managers are quite pragmatic and practical people. So if you start to talk about big things like I don't know, artificial intelligence or blockchain or any other stuff, probably they got bored because well, it's too much for them. But if you can say them that those technology can make the processes in the ports more effective, they save money, then that's the language that they like. So please take it into account.
The interesting thing also is that, well, it's sometimes we experience it a little bit different, that people approached us with the idea, let's implement blockchain. We want to be digital. But then we and our experts took a closer look and said, well, you don't need blockchain. It's not sufficient for this port. It's not even, there are other solutions. You should make 2 or 3 steps before. So blockchain is far ahead. So as I said, it's really interesting to see that you need individual solutions. There's not one digital solution for all the ports, especially when it comes to comprehensive ones. So yeah, it's very challenging, of course.
Okay, thank you. Villu, again, Villu, and I know that everybody knows you, Villu, but I'm not sure if everybody knows your ports. And you are running so many ports in Estonia. So if you can present shortly your ports, maybe not all of them, but simply the number. And what is the role of your ports in whole port sector in Estonia? Please. Oh, you have the presentation. I hope.
For how many days we will stay here? So.
Oh, you have just 3-4 minutes, so please, not more.
Okay. Did my screen sharing succeeded now? No, I didn't succeed with sharing screen.
No, we can see it.
You can see it?
Yeah.
So it's a map, I hope, up on your screen. And if you're talking about a company called Saarte-Liinid, it's state-owned. Usually many of you are municipality-owned, but this is state-owned. And this is a simple fact behind it. Estonia is such a small country that our municipalities are tiny. So very few municipalities are able to own and run ports. So already in 1994, decision was made. Those ports which are regionally important should be managed by one company. And you see the timeline. Those are names of the ports which appear here up year by year. And you see a couple of more. In 2003, there is a called Watermaster. So this is a dredging solution we have bought from Finland, because Estonian coastal seas are really shallow and you can't compare them to Norwegian or Finnish coastline. So you have to maintain them all the time. And in 2012, there is another name called Panda. So this is one of our tugboats. Again, not port business exactly, because there are tug and workboat companies specialized. Alfons Hakens is one of the most famous ones in Baltic Sea, at least in the northern part. But what happens is, if Alfons Hakens is a really good cooperation partner, but they are too large for us. So we need flexible solutions. So that's the reason we have obtained tugboats and dredgers ourselves. But nevertheless, as Bogdan asked, so as you see, right now there's 18 ports, smaller and larger, all around the country belonging to our company. And we will obtain 2 more in the near future. There is an island called Prangli on the northern coast, which also has a ferry line. Right now it's municipal ports, but they will be negotiated to us, and then we have to develop ports or harbors on those islands also. But what it's all about, it's all about diversity. So our company is earning profit. It's a normal shareholding company, but we are looked at one unit, because you can't run and have ports in outmost region or small islands, because they are not feasible. You can't run them as a business. So state as owner has allowed us to use this common strategy. So we earn money in larger ports, including those comprehensive ports, which are running main ferry lines between mainland Estonia and Estonian islands. We earn money in 4 or 5 ports, depend on a year, and we spend it in 18 ports. So this is kind of concern or network by itself already. But as I mentioned in the beginning, in case of smaller countries, smaller region, this is the only way to offer good quality port service. So there are no other options. So at least we are happy with the solution, and we look into the future. So we filled our 25 years last year, and I'm pretty sure next 25 is ahead of us. So this is an issue. And talking about the volumes, then there is 900,000 up to 1 million tons of regional cargo going through our ports, and we are servicing. If you talk about the line passengers, so bought tickets on a ferry line, so it's a 2.6, 2.7 million passengers per year. But if we talk about like it's a ordinary port statistics at departing and arriving passengers, then it's twice as more because we have both ports in both ends of the ferry line. So it's a 5.2 million passengers serviced in our ports every year. So we are not, by any means, we are not small company, but by any means we are not a large company either. So that what makes this work interesting. And besides passenger flow and cargo, as I mentioned, not trying to minimize opportunities to reach to the larger cargo flows in comprehensive ports. But the remark I made about the innovation and the blue economy, if you look at the Estonian coastal sea line, so this is all islands, and we are talking really intensively right now about, I don't know, maybe the right word is sea harvesting. It's not only about offshore, is not only about the wind energy and renewables, but it's only about also about growing, not growing fish, but growing mussels, growing different kind of weeds in a seabed. And this is important issue for Baltic Sea as whole, because I suppose you know that biological situation of the Baltic Sea is degrading. So so-called death zones in lower layers of the sea are growing, and there is not enough oxygen in the sea. And at least couple of Estonian universities, together with local businesses, are trying to push for blue economy, in a sense that you will grow organic species to be used, mussels and weeds, at the seabed, and to try to clean it from CO2 to make more oxygen into Baltic Sea. So this is another chapter which at least we see in our regional ports, which might develop in next 10 years. So beside offshore and ordinary cargo and ferry traffic. So, and we're trying to also emphasize on that on our future strategic plans.
Okay, thank you, Villu. I think it's called aquaculture, this sector, so growing.
For interpretation, yeah.
Yeah, something in the water. Villu, if you are there, maybe the last question to you. What is the main barrier or challenge when you talk about your port's development? But I'm not talking about market itself. Everybody have to face with the market situation, and everybody would like to have more clients, but there are also other barriers. So if you could point shortly, but please shortly, your main barriers when it comes to your port development.
Shortly is my middle name. So, now there is a certain issue, and we are all businesses, whatever municipality-owned, state-owned, or private-owned. As strange as it is for us, the main barrier to make development investments is that if you look at the market, and it doesn't have to be funding, it can be loans, private money you try to use for investments. Everybody is looking for return time to be within 10 years on investments. But reality, the port is built for 100 years or more. So it has been my mission, at least, to spread the knowledge that port investment doesn't have to be earned back in 10 years. Because if you make proper investment, proper development, the outcome will come maybe in 15 years and 20 years, but the outcome is much wider than the result for our port owning company. The port investment influences all the hinterland behind us, and Patrick gave a really good overview. So you can't talk about this key line or pier or territory, but every decision you make in a port is not for you, but for hinterland. And every decision is much longer periods than this ordinary 10 years. At least in Estonia, it's talked about that, oh, when the money comes back? In 10 years? No, oh, we can't invest money into your port. So this is a kind of change of mentality, which also need to be spread from our perspective. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Bogdan,
Vilo.
can I comment on that?
Yes,
That's
please,
very,
Patrick.
very correct. I think it also this way that if I invest in my port a certain amount of money, it will help my port to be more lucrative for our customers, and then we will see companies coming to the port. They will be investing here around the ports, and new industry, new kinds of development, and that brings the money back to the society, which again gives more to the port. So this is a very important issue and a way of thinking. Yes.
Patrick, if you have a voice, so you're also finding the same problem, the same challenge to find money, capital to invest in the ports.
Absolutely, yes. And in Finland, almost all ports are owned by the city where the port is situated, and it is always a political challenge that you have to convince the politicians that we have to invest in the port. And it is, of course, a competition with the money that can be spent somewhere else than in the port. So the financing is very important, and we are looking now in Kaskinen, we are looking for different new kinds of financial instruments, not only from the EU and CEF institutions, but also private money and other investors. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Just a short remark.
But just one sentence, please.
Yes, a long one. Now, it's to make it clear. So as Patrick mentioned, politicians, and that's damn correct, because what we are competing with, we are competing with public money being invested into the roads, railroads, and airports. And no one questions when the new road is built, but there are so many questions when the port is built. So this is actually, I'm not talking about the ports as itself, but ports compared to other parts of the infrastructure and logistics. So this is a fight which is going on, and this is a fight on local governmental, national governmental level usually.
And to continue on that, that's why the comprehensive ports should be more recognized, because we are the big wheels. We are small but efficient. The big guys, the big dragons are always the ones that you emphasize on, but this is wrong, and we should have more eyes on the comprehensive ports and get more financial. I mean, we're talking about 10% of the whole CEF money pot. That's nothing. It should be different.
Okay. Jesper, sorry, may I ask you, because you're also realizing big projects in Rone, and how did you get this money, and what is your main challenge when you develop?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm quite agree what's been said, and I think if I should say overall, I think what we have to focus on is that the future ports in 10, 15 years might, and the development of the ports in the Baltic Sea might not be the biggest ports. It might be, that has been said, it might be a port like Rønne that is not a small port, but it's still a port that can be having a central role in the building of offshore into mills, offshore power. So I think that we should, I mean, that this is a very important thing to recognize, because the big ports, as seen in the report, also gets the money, and they have the possibility of applying, and that's because it's a very bureaucratic process. But we have to focus on that the development in the future might be happening in the smaller ports or in the comprehensive ports. And then to say about them getting money, I mean, we are a commercial port. We get the money in the, you could say, free market, or we go to the bank. We are not a city-owned port, and that's the big difference. But it also gives us a chance for developing with our speed. You could say not completely, because we have to, if you're changing the structure of the port, you have to have different projects that can be slowed by be taking time no matter what. But the money issue, we're not sitting, at least we're not sitting only focusing on getting funds from EU or from Danish politicians, because that would drain the process and take the time out of the speed out of the development. So that's, yeah.
Thank you, Jesper. Yes, it is very important to hear that from all of you, that the comprehensive ports must be more promoted, and that the development, the growth is also in smaller ports. Well, Christopher, maybe at the end of this round, can you tell what are the main barriers implementing digital solutions in ports, in smaller ports?
I would say simply time. The low capacity, the low time that ports tend to have. I mean, I'm sitting here with two CEOs and the head of public affairs, and I will not tell you what is your barriers from, but at least from our project view, it is really that we often get the answer, well, I do not have the time, I have to take care on daily business. So the lower capacity, I mean, if we compare it to bigger ports, they have own departments for everything, for digitalization, for fund allocation, so far and so on. So this is really something challenging, I would say, from our perspective, of course. Also, I would like to add one thing that was mentioned by the colleagues here and also in the report. Maybe we should stop talking about ports themselves and turn to port ecosystems, because especially for the comprehensive ports, we said, well, there is a strong connection to the hinterland. They are important actors in the regional development. If I invest in ports, I also have synergies with the companies around. So then why do we talk about ports? Why do we limit it to ports? It's more a port ecosystem. Maybe this would be, at least from my point of view as researcher as well, this term would fit way better for comprehensive and smaller ports.
Christopher, thank you. And I think I'll take it as also a final remark from your side. And the final round, maybe I go now to Patrick, and if you could finalize your contribution, and if you have anything to say, any important conclusions from today's discussion.
Yes, thank you. I would like to emphasize on the recommendations for the comprehensive network, and to talk to the national government. That's very important to get them on the same keel that the ports are. Nobody is listening to the ports. I feel it like also in the EU, in the Commission, that somebody is making this somebody's making up a scheme how it should be, but nobody's talking actually to the ports. They're talking to somebody else. And as Villu said, we are the ones who knows how to run a port and the importance of the port nationally and internationally. That's one thing. The other thing is, I would like to comment on Christopher with the digitalization. As you maybe can see behind me, I have this digital screen, and I can manage everything what's going on in the port from this screen. It's not just a one-way screen, it's a two-way screen. Anyway, time is of essence, absolutely. But I would say that shipping industry is the most conservative, close to some other very old industry that I won't mention here. But anyway, it's very conservative, and in every port, it's a challenge to introduce this technology to anybody that is working in the port. And we need not just the companies and workers in the port, we need the whole logistic chain behind it, and it should be open for everybody. Then we get the force out of digitalization. It can't be just one port, it has to be the whole system, ecosystem. Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you, Patrick. Final remarks from Jesper.
Oh, the only thing I would say is that I think it's very good that you put this report out, and I quite fully support the recommendations. And I think that what we're seeing is that, as I said earlier, is the future will show that the comprehensive ports, the future ports of the Baltic Seas might be comprehensive ports taking another and different position than this bigger core ports, because we'll see that there's a big change with the decarbonization, with the offshore industry in the Baltic Sea. So we'll see big change in the next 10 years. And I just hope that the funding will follow what will happen in the future instead of following what happened in the past.
Thank you, Jesper. And Villu, last voice from your side, 2-3 sentences.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's art of making long sentences in case of me then. But nevertheless, just to finalize this, as I understand, this is the last chapter of today's event. So as Jesper said, this report brought out the issues, and I hope those issues will stay out, and they will be heard. And instead of cementing the situation as it was for past 20 years, we will be able to make it more flexible for us, for ourselves. And I'm happy to be among believers. I'm happy to be among believers that comprehensive ports are the future. So that's well said. Usually, if you go to war, you are looking who's behind you, and we can say hinterland is behind us. So we're not going to war, but we have hinterland, and we have to take care of them. And to Christopher, just one mentioning as a best measure for your point is that in our case we had a digital auditing, or actually IT audit last year. And PricewaterhouseCoopers says that, guys, with a company like yours, you should have 3 guys working for IT and the annual budget for 300,000. In reality, we have 1 guy and the budget is 100,000. So the development which need to be done here is a tiger leap, as it's said in Estonia. But thank you guys for your input, and thank you, Bogdan, for organizing this nice event. Andrzej, Marta, Kasper, everybody out there, thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you, Villu. And at this point, I don't want to present you a big summary, but I think we are trying to raise the voice of the comprehensive port. That's what we are doing. This webinar, but also the report is part of that. We will distribute the report also towards EU institutions and towards national governments. And of course, we would also, with you, Villu, try to explain what's the role of comprehensive ports to broaden audience. And when it comes to overall port industry, the next years are really interesting. You know, we are having this Green Deal and new climate policy, and there will be quite a change for the industry, but also for the ports. So let's see how it goes. Well, at the end, thanks all the presenters. Thanks to those who were following us on YouTube. Follow our social media and our e-shots. So stay with us. Thank you, and see you on next occasions. Thank you very much. Bye.